at a later date. So this will be posted on the high school website in the counseling pages after we're done. To get started, I just want to introduce the topic tonight. This is a parent, and students are welcome too. This is a parent night for learning about the new Washington State graduation requirements. These are requirements that just rolled out. Some of them have been around a while, but some of them are brand new this year and really don't start impacting students until next year. So I wanted to get us all up to date on the changes. And so the three main requirements from the state of Washington to earn your high school diploma are: 1, to complete a high school and beyond plan; 2, to complete 24 credits in specific course areas; and 3, to complete a graduation pathway. This is a big change, the pathway, so I'll go into a lot of detail when we get to that. The high school and beyond plan is something that we started, years and years and years ago. It's been a high school requirement for quite a while, but it's changed a lot over the years. So if you had an older student go through and they did a high school and beyond plan, they might have done an essay with a resume, and that was it. The plans changed quite a bit, so I'm going to walk you through the steps of a high school and beyond plan. We did purchase a pretty cool program to help our students do this, and we started out with it this year. So the 8th graders got to try this out, and it was a lot of fun. High school and beyond plans are going to start in 8th grade from now on. That's one of the changes. And the first thing that the students do, is they start looking at themselves. What are they interested in? What kind of skills do they have? And their preferences, and all of that is compiled in this program and helps them match up to different career areas. So they're going to take these interest tests in this program to start exploring that. They'll take some preference tests where they get 2 items and they have to say which one they like more. They're going to do some interest surveys, some skill surveys, and all of that is put together to help them figure out, do they have a particular career area or a career personality, as they call it, that matches up to their interests. So the next step in this program is they're going to look at those career areas, those occupation personalities, and find out how their particular interest areas match up. And this program is very robust. It's pulling really good up-to-date data. So it's going to give our students occupations that are current, that are in need in the community. That's one thing I really like about this program. It has a lot of local, not just local like Chimacum, but local Washington State kind of data. After the students have started narrowing down some different career areas, they can find out what sort of training programs do you need to do in that career area. And I want to just give some examples because that sounds terribly vague. For example, if your student was really interested in mechanical things, they like working with their hands, they like taking things apart and putting them back together again, they might have come up high in an interest area that's mechanical, but there's a whole range of occupations within that interest area. So maybe they want to be an auto technician and work on cars, or maybe they want to be an engineer and design parts to cars. Those are all jobs that fit into the same area, but very different programs that they would want to pursue. So in this section of the this website that we are purchasing, the students can explore all those different options within an area. And they can find out what programs need, like if you wanted to do the auto tech, what kind of program would you go to? if you wanted to be an engineer, what kind of program would you go to? And then finally, later on down the road, when students are maybe in 10th and 11th grade, they might want to start matching these ideas up to what exact schools they could go to. And the program that we have has many, many colleges, and both private and public. And they also have vocational schools, both private and public. The school search part of this program, when you start looking at colleges, it gives you information about the financial aid that the colleges offer, about what kind of extracurricular activities are offered at those colleges. And also, every college website has information on how their students place, how they get out into the job market after they graduate. So there's a lot of info your students can get from this particular page here, the school search. Finally, this program offers the students something they call reality check. And I really like this. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this works for the kids. The reality check lets students investigate and start describing what kind of lifestyle they want to live. Do you want to live in an apartment, or do you want your own single family home? Do you want to have your own place or share with roommates? Do you want to live in a city, or would you rather have a rural kind of lifestyle? So it goes through a lot of lifestyle questions, and then it helps the students figure out how much it would cost to live where they want to live. And then based on that, the student can start seeing what education and what occupations they would need to support the lifestyle that they want. Okay, I'm going to pause here and see if, Mark, if we have any questions.
So far, Barb, we haven't had any questions. I did put a thing out to people. If they do have questions, please post it in the chat, and then I'll stop and ask you the question.
Great, thanks. This is another way of looking at different training programs that students can choose. So when they're deciding on their career interest areas and their training programs, here's another way of looking what kind of training programs you can do. So there's apprenticeship or on-the-job training, or getting a certificate of a license to do a specific kind of job. There's CTE colleges that'll offer certificate training. There's also to get a 2-year associate degree, which you can transfer then to a 4-year college. And then the 4-year colleges will offer the bachelor's degree, and then graduate schools offer the master's degrees, medical degrees, law degrees, etc. And then there's national service, which includes military and AmeriCorps. So this helps your students see that there's a wide range of training that you can choose to do. So I think a lot of times people feel like everything's being channeled into the 4-year college option, but really you can see that that's just one of many, many different ways to approach post-high school training. So I really want to encourage our students to look at all these options and choose which one is best for them.
Barb, we did get a question.
Great.
So this is from Kim. She wants to know, is this website available for for kids to access? Is it available to the Running Start students?
Great. Let's see if I can get my camera back on here. I guess not. Okay. So Kim, yeah, this program, we just rolled it out this year, this particular career search program. It's through a company called School Data Solutions. And it is new for us this year. So the 8th graders got to try out the career search stuff, but every student is going to have a login, grades 7 through 12, and be able to get in here. We are working right now with our tech folks to get that login synchronized with their school login that they already use, so that it'll be seamless and they won't have to fuss around with a separate login and a separate password. So that's something that we are getting done right now. But yeah, every student will have access to this.
Thank you.
The next part of the high school and beyond plan is what's called the 4-year plan. And really, it's just a map of what classes you're going to take while you're in high school. So this is a sample 4-year plan. It's just the classes you're taking each year. And it can change. Students might, in 8th grade, design a 4-year plan. Here's what I want to do in high school. And then by the time they get to 10th grade, they've changed their minds about something. So I just want to emphasize that a 4-year plan is a goal or a map to get where you want to go, but you might change your mind, and that's okay. And then they can revise their 4-year plan. They can, of course, you can only change the future. You can't change the past. So it is important to get the plan going and at least try to keep your options open with your 4-year plan, I think is the best advice. So in this plan here, your typical 9th grade student is taking science and algebra 1 and English and some health and PE. And then they have a couple electives. And if you were a 9th grader who was thinking, it is possible that I'm going to want to go to 4-year college right after high school. That's definitely a possibility for me. I'd like to go to WSU, go Cougs. So I might want to start my foreign language because I know I need to get 2 years of that to go to college. So in the sample here, that world language for the 5th class, that's going to be a good plan for a college-bound student. And then the 6th elective should be something that's going to fill another requirement, like an arts class or a CTE class. And I'll show you more about all the requirements a couple slides up. And then the same student in 10th grade, they're going to take the requireds, the social studies, the math, the English, and the science. And then they're going to choose electives again. And here, taking another year of world language, because 2 is what's required to go to 4-year college. And then be thoughtful about those electives. I want to make sure I'm going to get my PE or my art requirements taken care of, or my CTE requirements. So this 4-year plan is really helpful for students to make sure they meet all the requirements. As you can see, when you get into 11th and 12th grade, 12th grade now, you get more electives. But if you are a 4-year college-bound student, those electives do get tied up a bit with the 12th grade, what they call the 12th grade quantitative course requirement, or maybe the college you want to go to is going to require more science or more math. So it seems like you have a lot of electives, but they can get tied up. So just to warn you. Another student might have a totally different plan. They might go, say, I want to go to West Sound Tech for my junior and senior year and study fire science or HVAC or medical careers. So there's all these different programs at West Sound Tech. But again, the student needs to be very thoughtful and plan ahead on their schedule to make that work. So that student, when they're in 9th grade, they might say, no, I'm not going to do the world language because I want to save some elective credits for West Sound Tech. And they might choose for their electives instead to take care of their art and their PE requirements because maybe the program they're going to do at West Sound Tech isn't going to offer those. But they're not going to worry about CTE requirements because they know that they'll get all of their CTE requirements through West Sound Tech. So that's another way of looking at it. They want to front load some of the courses that they know they won't be able to get at West Sound Tech and save room in their schedule later for that. Are there any questions again?
We don't have any questions at this time, Barb.
Okay. Now this 20 per credit requirement is new for the class of 2021. This year's seniors had a 23 credit requirement and there were some differences. So again, if you have older students, this is new, but not a whole lot different. And I'm just gonna walk you through the requirements so you know what your students are expected to do. Everybody needs to do 4 years of English and 3 years of math. And the math is very specifically needing to be covering Algebra 1 and geometry, which we offer here at the high school. And then a 3rd credit of math, which most students would do Algebra 2 for that 3rd credit of math. But they could also earn that 3rd credit if they were taking a West Sound Tech program that offered a credit of math, or they might be able to earn that credit through like a business math kind of a class. And then we also offer a class called Bridges to College Math, and that helps students who are struggling with Algebra 2, gives them a chance to go through that material again, and that class would count as a 3rd year math class. The science has changed. This is now 3 years required. It has been 2 years of science in the past. So something our high school students are gonna get, which I think is pretty awesome, is everybody's gonna get a 3rd math class or 3rd science class. And we offer classes like chemistry and marine biology. Will be on the offerings for next year. This year we had physics and environmental science. So we'll try to rotate the classes that are courses students need for college prep, like chemistry and physics, but also include courses that are high interest areas for our students. So even if a student isn't really interested in going to Western or UW or WSU, we're going to offer science courses that have high interest. And then for social studies, they have changed the requirements a little bit, but they're mostly the same. So it's still 3 years. It's still a year of US history. And the CWP, the old CWP, they're now calling Contemporary World History, Geography, and Problems. And that's just a 0.5, but then there's also a 0.5 credit of civics. So our students are gonna do a year of US history, a year of CWP/civics, and then a year of world history. We're gonna continue to do the world history curriculum. And then all students need to do Washington State history, but we usually cover that in middle school. The fine or visual or performing arts category, it says 2 credits, which is an increase because it used to be 1. But then when you read over in the additional information, it says 1 credit of this can be used as part of the student's personal pathway. And then the same thing for world language. World language did not used to be a requirement. Now it's listed as a requirement, 2 years of the same world language. But it also says here that 1 or 2 credits of this can be used as personal pathway. So these are actually 3 flexible credits, 1 from the performing arts, fine and performing arts category, and 2 from the world language category. They don't have to be world language and arts. They can be anything that your student wants to do that's going to support their goals, their interests. So again, for example, the student who wants to go to West Sound Tech, they can say, no, I don't want to do the world languages. I want to do 2 credits at West Sound Tech. And they can even take that art credit and say, I want to do that. Or maybe a student is here and their goal is going to be to work in the agriculture business in the community. And they're not planning to go to 4-year college, at least not right away. They're hoping to work after high school, but they're really interested in food and agriculture. They might say, I would like to take these flexible credits and take more foods and horticulture classes at Chimacum High School because that really relates more to my interests. So those are two examples of how these credits can be flexible. There are as many examples as there are students of how you can use these credits, okay? It is really a personal choice. The only criteria the state has put down is that you have to put it in writing somewhere in your high school and beyond plan that you are going to use these credits to do these other classes. So as long as you write it down and say that's what you're doing, you're good to go. There is still one credit of career and tech ed, which we shorthand call CTE credits. Those used to be called vocational credits in the past. So if you're an old school like me, that was vocational credits. Now they're CTE. We have several CTE programs here at the high school, so your students should enjoy getting these credits. They're usually a little more hands-on courses, often courses students really enjoy, like foods, horticulture, the digital design, computer classes. Those all fit into the CTE area.
Barb, we did have a question if you want to answer a question right now.
Sure.
Okay, we had from Al Gonzalez, where did the new 24 credits come from for next year's seniors?
Where did they come from? The legislator, the Washington State legislator. Okay. Legislative body. Yeah. Did that answer the question? Okay. And then the final category, health and fitness, that has not changed. That is still half a credit of health and 1.5 credits of PE. And all those little asterisks next to that go off to describe what the legislators put in the law as ways that you can legitimately waive PE. There are very specific rules around that. We do waive PE for students who participate in school sports, and because that's one of the allowable waivers. But there are other ways. Yeah.
Okay. So Barb, I guess what the question was is when the state had us do the 1 extra credit, what was that in?
Oh, well, they kind of shifted things around. So I guess science would be where they added a credit.
Okay. And we also did have another question come in as it was from Warren. It says, do students make a high school and beyond plan each year?
They don't make it each year, but they have the opportunity to revise it. They'll definitely start it in 8th grade. They will definitely revisit the whole thing in 10th grade. But they can get in and revise it really whenever they want, but specifically we'll go into classrooms, hopefully in person, but if not, we'll do it video, through an online format. But we will go into every grade level and introduce the high school and beyond plan topics. But we will always start in 8th grade and always have a major review in 10th grade. Okay. And that's the law. That's what they set down as a requirement. So every high school should be doing that. And then the very bottom, I don't know if you can see it on this chart, is electives. So yay, we still get some electives, but not as many. It used to be like 7 electives, and now it's 4. But when you remember that 3 of those required electives are flexible, it really is back to 7 electives. So it all comes out the same in the end. This is a horrible chart, but I'm sticking it in here because if you go back and watch the video later, you can pause and look at this, or you can just download it. I have it posted all in multiple places on the website. This overview of minimum college admission standards, this is for Washington State four-year colleges. And specifically for our state public four-year colleges, these are their requirements. So mostly they line up perfectly with the Washington State graduation requirements, like the 4 years of English, the 3 years of math. But then there are places where they don't really line up. So it gets a little confusing. And I wanted to highlight the places that are different. So the main one, you really have to keep an eye on this, is the senior math-based quantitative course. During a student's senior year, they need to take a class like physics or chemistry or pre-cal or algebra 2, if that's where they are in the sequence. But it needs to meet this requirement. And students will get frustrated because it's like, what? I thought I was done. I got my 3 years of math, and now I'm hearing I have to do another math or a science. But that is what the colleges want, the four-year colleges. They want seniors to continue working hard during their senior year. The one exception is that if you have already completed pre-calculus or higher your junior year, then you do not need to worry about a senior year math. And then the next exception is world languages. They are personal pathway in the state requirement, but they are actually required for four-year college. So 2 credits of the same world language. We are offering world language to our 8th graders. They can get started on this in 8th grade. So I think that really helps to give them some flexibility with their electives down the road. So if you have a younger student in your family, a 7th or an 8th grader, they can, not 7th grade, but 8th graders can start taking world language. I have seen colleges waive this requirement if it was somehow a hardship for the student to get this course and they have amazing grades otherwise and super SAT scores. You know, I have seen colleges waive it and let a student in without it, but that is the exception. And then the last one I put on the list is science. It's kind of interesting because the state is requiring 3 years of science, but the colleges are only requiring 2 credits of science, but they say specifically it needs to be a lab science. All of our classes, all of our sciences are lab sciences here. The reason I included this on the list is that little note at the bottom, and it says, note, Western Washington University specifies that 1 credit must be an algebra-based chemistry or physics course. So that is quite a stickler, and students really need to pay attention to that. We will offer chemistry every other year and physics every other year. So there's always one of those on the schedule. How are we doing? Okay. So the last part of those 3 requirements, remember when I started, there were 3 requirements. There was the high school and beyond plan, there was the 24 credits, and then there's the pathways. And the pathway is really a completely new way of looking at it from the state. What this is replacing is the state testing requirement, the SBAC, that the students were taking the math and the English test as a graduation requirement. They still will be taking SBAC tests. That's a federal requirement as well, so we must test the students. Mark, you can jump in if I'm not saying that right, but all of our students still need to participate in SBAC testing, but if they don't pass it, there are all these other ways that they can meet this requirement. So these are called graduation pathways, which is super confusing because we also have career pathways, but I guess it's a good word, so we're reusing it. Graduation pathways, class of 2020 and on. So the first one they have listed is a career technical field, a CTE course sequence. So remember, CTE stands for Career Tech Ed. We have CTE classes at the high school, but we haven't, this is all new, so we haven't had a chance to create a sequence yet that's going to qualify, but I think we'll work on that. Meanwhile, West Sound Tech's programs do absolutely qualify for this CTE course sequence. So if a student does complete 2 or more credits at a West Sound Tech program, and each program is 3 credits for the year, so they're going to meet that, then they can use this as their graduation pathway. And it won't matter if they pass those SBAC tests or not. So that's one option. Another one is the military career interest. They can take the ASVAB test, which is something that we offer for free every fall. And the ASVAB has, right now the cut score is 31. I can't tell you if that's high or low. We had a couple students meet that this year and are able to use that for their pathway. The state's been really careful to say military career interest, not military career period. So the meaning is clear that a student does not have to pursue a military career to use the ASVAB as a pathway. So if you have a student who's struggling to pass that SBAC test, I would highly recommend taking the ASVAB as a backup, regardless of whether they're interested in the military or not. The third item on the list is post-secondary education exams. And so these are our old familiar, these options we've had all along. So there's taking the ACT or the SAT test and meeting the cut score. There's earning college level coursework in the area. So like, let's say you weren't passing the math exam, the SBAC math exam, but you took a college and the high school math class, like our pre-calc class, and passed that, then that can be a pathway for math. If you took the AP English class, that could be your pathway for English. You have to get a B or higher, or C+ or higher for the AP and a B or higher for the CTE dual. We don't have a CTE dual credit right now. The third option is dual credit exams, like taking the AP test, not just taking the course, but the test and getting a 3 or higher. We don't have those other 2 options here at Chimacum. And then the way down on the list, there's state assessments. So this is the one we've been going by pretty much. So the Smarter Balanced English and the Smarter Balanced Math. So those will still be offered. They are required for federal purposes, but they can also be used as a graduation pathway. And then last on the list is something we've been doing as well, and that's a transition course. This year we have the Bridges to College Math. So students can use that course as a math pathway. And we don't currently have an English transition course, but most of our students are passing the English SBAC or meeting their English requirement in another way. So I think we're okay with that. Any questions there?
Yeah, Barb, we did get a question which I might help you answer. It says, am I understand correctly, these options are only for students who did not pass the SBAC? So my answer to that would be yes, would be, they didn't pass the SBAC. This is a different pathway or an option that they can go. And then the second part of the question is also, do we know when the SBAC will be offered for this year's sophomores that did not get the opportunity to take it? My guess would be is that we would probably test all 10th and 11th graders next year on SBAC in the spring, but there has not been, the state hasn't came out with anything. That's just me going out on a limb saying that that would be my guess of what they would do, is we would just double up in the testing season next spring and test both the sophomores and the juniors. And we probably would have to have the 12th graders take the science assessment that is normally given in 11th grade. But that's just me guessing what they'll do. They have not came out with guidance yet for next year.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's probably what's going to happen. I find it interesting that the science test is not on here, because a couple years ago, the science test was going to be another graduation requirement, but they've completely removed that from the requirements and added these other options. So since every student must take the Smarter Balance as a federal requirement, we the state of Washington have to do some kind of test like this to meet some federal requirements. Every student should be taking it. And if they pass it, great, they've already met a pathway. And they don't need to, they can do these other things as well, but the transcript's not going to say which pathway. It just says pathway met, graduation pathway met. It doesn't say which one specifically. So they could end up meeting this 4 different ways. They could, pass the state test and take some dual credit college and the high school classes and take the ASVAB and, just meet the requirements multiple ways. But for graduation purposes, they only need one of these.
Thank you.
That's the end. I forgot to add my last slide, which is I'm going to post some pretty awesome websites that you can go to get more information, especially if you're curious, like Al, about where did this stuff come from and, what's the backstory here. There's some sites that I'll be happy to post for you to look at. There's the Board of Education site, has a lot of good information, and the OSPI site. So I'll get all that up on the web for you guys so you can peruse it. But these are the basic nuts and bolts of what students are going to need to do to graduate and to thoughtfully graduate. I think the nice thing about the High School Beyond plan starting earlier and having some good tools now to do a High School Beyond plan is that they're going to be really thoughtful. The kids are going to have a lot more buy-in into the whole process because we have a tool now that's really going to help them explore and learn about all these cool things that they can do. So I'm really excited for next year to start playing around in that. So we have no more questions?
We can give some good wait time, so in case people are thinking and processing. But right now, we don't have any more questions. Just thank you for the information.
Oh, you're very welcome. Let's see if I can get my camera working here.
And thank you to everyone that showed up tonight. We do appreciate it. And we know these are weird times, but it's good that we're meeting and talking about graduation requirements so that everyone understands it at an early age.
Yeah, and for students who didn't have the benefit of our 8th grade rollout of the new career planner program, we'll bring that around to all the students, including next year's seniors. Everybody will get a chance to use that program and all the benefits from it.
All right, we haven't had any more questions, so I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. Stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Bye.